to Spooken softly, where darkness breathes and shadows whisper. I'm your host, and tonight we venture somewhere you may not return from unchanged. Find a quiet place, turn down the lights, and let the story find you. Tonight's episode, The Third Rail. Some memories don't fade. They merely wait in the dark, like grease on a track, waiting for a wheel to spark. 10 years ago, I swore I would never return to the suburb of Blackwood. I left in the middle of a November night with nothing but a canvas duffel bag and a heavy wool coat, the one with the brass buttons that scratched my wrists. I left because of the silence in our family home. A silence so thick, it felt like something rotting behind the drywall. But yesterday, the letter arrived. It was from my brother, Julian. He had stayed behind, inheriting the identical, flat-roofed house on the cul-de-sac where we grew up. The house that always felt like a trap. The letter was just one scribbled sentence. Maeve, the basement door won't stay latched anymore, and I can't remember how to close it.
Now, it is past midnight, and I am descending into the concrete throat of the city's deepest transit line. The air down here is different. It is heavy, metallic, and smells of old ozone and damp stone. The tiles on the station walls are cracked, yellowed like old teeth, slick with a condensation that never dries. I bought a one-way ticket because I couldn't bear to think about coming back. My fingers are trembling as I hold the paper slip. I keep thinking of Julian's voice from our last phone call 3 years ago. How dry it was, how thin. He sounded like paper scraping against concrete. I chose this train because it runs directly beneath the old suburbs, a subterranean line carved out 50 years ago and largely forgotten. My heels click against the platform. The sound is too loud. It bounces off the curved ceiling, returning to me slightly out of sync, as if someone else is walking a half step behind me, wearing the exact same shoes. I stop. The echo stops, but only after a fraction of a second. I pull my coat tighter. It's a modern synthetic puffer jacket, sleek and gray, nothing like the heavy wool coat I abandoned a decade ago. That coat is long gone, donated or burned. I make myself believe this. I must believe it. The rails begin to hum. It starts as a low vibration in the soles of my feet, a deep, grinding thrum that rattles my teeth. Then comes the wind, a hot, stale sigh pushing out of the tunnel ahead, carrying the scent of burning oil and wet hair. The headlight of the oncoming train appears as a dim, amber eye cutting through the gloom. It doesn't look like a modern machine. It is a rusted iron cylinder, its rivets weeping dark streaks of corrosion. The metal squeals against the curve, a high-pitched, agonizing wail that makes me cover my ears. The doors slide open with a heavy, pneumatic sigh. I step inside. The carriage is empty. The plastic seats are a faded, sickly orange, scarred with graffiti that has been half scrubbed away, leaving ghost-like smears of black ink. The overhead fluorescent lights flicker, humming a flat B-flat note that vibrates in the back of my skull. I sit near the middle, facing the dark window glass of the opposite side. With a violent jolt, the train lurches forward, plunging back into the tunnel. The platform vanishes. There is only blackness outside now. Unforgiving, absolute blackness, broken only by the occasional utility light bolted to the brick tunnel walls, flashing past like dying stars. I lean my head against the cold glass of the window. My reflection stares back. The lighting inside the carriage is harsh, casting deep shadows under my eyes and carving hollows into my cheeks. I look tired. I look like someone who has spent 10 years running from a ghost, only to find it waiting at the end of the line. But as the train gains speed, swaying side to side on the uneven tracks, I notice something wrong with the glass. My reflection is wearing a dark, heavy wool coat. I blink. I reach up to touch my collar. My fingers meet the smooth, slick polyester of my puffer jacket. But in the reflection, my hand is wrapped in coarse, dark wool. The brass buttons on the cuff glint in the flickering light of the carriage. I freeze. My heart gives a sudden, sharp thud against my ribs. It is the coat, the one from that night. I lean closer to the glass. The reflection doesn't move. I draw my hand back, resting it on my lap. But in the window, my reflection's hand remains lifted, hovering near its throat, its fingers curved like claws. The face in the glass isn't quite my face anymore. It is younger. It is pale, sweating, eyes wide with a frantic animal terror. It is the face of 21-year-old Maeve, the girl who closed her ears to the screaming in the basement and ran. The lights in the carriage die. For 3 agonizing seconds, we ride in total darkness. The only sound is the rhythmic, deafening roar of the wheels on the iron rails. Clack, 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 clack. I hold my breath, staring into the pitch black where the window should be. When the lights flicker back on, the reflection has shifted. It is sitting closer. In the glass, it has turned its body slightly, facing me. Its head is tilted at an unnatural, stiff angle. It is staring directly at me, not mimicking my gaze, but watching me. And on its shoulder, there is a dark, wet patch that wasn't there before. A patch that slowly spreads, soaking the wool.
Next stop, Elm Street.
The conductor's voice crackles over the intercom. It is incredibly faint, almost entirely buried beneath static, but it sounds wrong. It sounds like a man speaking while trying to swallow water. Elm Street is the station for our old neighborhood, the place where Julian is waiting. But we shouldn't be there yet. We have 3 more stops before Elm. I stand up. My knees are weak, trembling. I look toward the end of the carriage. The heavy metal door leading to the next car has a small rectangular window. Through it, I can see only darkness. I walk down the aisle, the train swaying violently, forcing me to grab the metal poles for support. Every pole I touch feels ice cold, sticking to the skin of my palms. I look at the window of the carriage door. There is someone standing in the next car. It is a silhouette, tall and slightly bent, standing perfectly still in the middle of the dark aisle. It doesn't move with the swaying of the train. It exists in its own pocket of stillness. As the train passes a yellow utility light, the silhouette is illuminated for a fraction of a second. It is Julian, but his face is empty. Where his eyes should be, there are only deep, hollow sockets, and his mouth is stretched open in a silent, wide gasp, as if he has been trying to scream for 10 years and ran out of air. A cold draft blows through the carriage, smelling of wet earth and copper. I take a step back, my heart hammering like a trapped bird. "Julian?" I whisper, the sound lost to the roar of the tunnel. The figure in the window doesn't blink. It doesn't have eyes to blink with. It simply tilts its head, mimicking the reflection in the side glass. Suddenly, the train's screeching begins. The brakes lock up. The steel wheels scream against the rails, throwing me forward. I crash against the metal pole, the breath knocked from my lungs. The train grinds to a violent, shuddering halt. The lights die completely. The silence that follows is absolute. The roaring wind, the grinding iron, the hum of the alternator, all of it vanishes. There is only the sound of my own shallow, ragged breathing and the slow, heavy ticking of the train's cooling engine. Then, from the darkness of the carriage behind me, comes a sound. A wet, dragging footstep. Drag. It is coming from the glass. I can hear the sound of wet wool scraping against the plastic seats. The intercom sparks to life again, spitting a thick wall of static into the cold air. Through the white noise, a voice speaks. It isn't the conductor anymore. It is Julian, but his voice is young, high-pitched, the voice of a teenager.
Maeve? Why did you lock it? It's dark down here. The water is rising. Maeve, please, the latch is rusted.
My hands fly to my mouth. A wave of nausea hits me, hot and bitter. The memory, the one I had buried under a decade of gray concrete and busy city streets, begins to crack open like a dry tomb. The identical houses, the cul-de-sac. The night our parents died, leaving us alone in that echoing house. Julian had been terrified of the cellar. He said something was breathing under the floorboards. I told him he was being a child. I told him to go down and prove there was nothing there. And when he went down, I had wanted to go to the party. I had wanted to escape, just for one night, to be normal. I pushed the heavy oak door shut. I slid the brass bolt into place. Just for an hour, I had told myself, just to teach him a lesson. But the rain came, a torrential, historic storm that flooded the low-lying cul-de-sac, filling the basement with 6 feet of black, stagnant runoff before the power grid failed. When I came back, the house was silent. The water had reached the top of the stairs. I didn't open the door. I couldn't. I just left. I took my duffel bag, my wool coat, and I ran to the train station. I told myself he had escaped through the coal chute. I forced myself to believe he was alive. A single emergency light flickers on in the carriage, casting a dim red glow over the scene. The reflection is no longer in the window. The glass is empty, showing only the dark brick wall of the tunnel. But the seat opposite me is wet. A dark, glistening puddle of water is pooling on the orange plastic, dripping slowly onto the floor. On the floor, leading from the window to where I stand, are wet footprints. Small, narrow footprints, smelling of stagnant mud and river silt. You forgot me. The whisper comes from right behind my ear. It is freezing cold, carrying the scent of decay and copper. I spin around. Standing in the narrow aisle, blocked by the emergency light, is the girl in the wool coat. Her hair is plastered to her skull, dripping black water onto her pale forehead. Her skin is bloated, translucent, the color of curdled milk. She is wearing my old coat, the brass buttons green with corrosion. And she is holding something in her hand. It is the rusted brass bolt from our basement door. No, I whisper, backing away until my spine hits the emergency exit door at the back of the car. No, you're not real. I bought a ticket. I'm going to see Julian. He's alive. He wrote me a letter. The entity looks down at the rust-pitted bolt in its hand, then raises its eyes to mine. They are completely black, filled with the dark water of a flooded cellar.
I didn't write it, Maeve. You did. You've been writing it to yourself every year.
The carriage doors behind me suddenly groan, the metal bending inward as if under immense external pressure. The scent of wet earth floods my senses, choking me, filling my throat with the taste of dirt. The emergency light begins to pulse faster, a panicked heartbeat of red. The girl steps forward. Each step is heavy, wet, accompanied by the squelch of waterlogged leather. She reaches out a hand with gray, wrinkled skin and fingernails that have been worn down to the raw quick from scratching against a locked oak door. She isn't trying to hurt me. She is reaching for my puffer jacket. She wants her coat back. The intercom screams with feedback, a piercing metallic screech that forces me to my knees. The red light pulses one last time, illuminating the entity as it looms over me, its cold, wet fingers brushing against my neck. "Please!" I scream into the dark. "Please, I'm sorry! I'm sorry!" The train suddenly plunges forward with a violent, neck-snapping lurch. The roaring wind returns, the squeal of the wheels, the blinding white light of a station platform flooding through the windows. I gasp, opening my eyes. I am sitting on the orange plastic seat. The carriage is brightly lit. The train is pulling into Elm Street Station. The platform outside is empty, tiled in clean white ceramic. I am shivering violently. I look down at myself. My puffer jacket is gone. I am wearing the heavy, dark wool coat. The brass buttons are cold against my wrists, scratching my skin. The wool is damp, smelling faintly of stagnant water, and when I press my hand against my chest, my fingers come away wet. The doors slide open. The station is dead silent. I step out onto the platform. The train behind me does not close its doors. It sits there, humming, waiting. I walk toward the exit stairs, my footsteps sounding heavy, wet, and slightly double. When I look at the tiled wall beside me, my reflection isn't walking with me. It is standing still on the platform, watching me go, wearing a clean gray puffer jacket and smiling a small, relieved smile. I reach the top of the stairs and step out into the quiet cul-de-sac. Every house looks identical, their flat roofs silhouetted against the duck sky. At the end of the street, the door to number 14 is slightly ajar. A single yellow light burns in the basement window. I can hear the water rising. And so ends tonight's tale, The Third Rail. Thank you for sitting with us in the dark. If the shadows spoke to you tonight, subscribe to Spooken softly and stay close. There are more stories waiting, more voices in the walls, more things that go quiet just before you notice them. Until next time, sleep well, if you can.